Our guest that we had hinted earlier on that Anna couldn't. She's here, and that is Millicent Odhiambo. She's the Wiper Party Coordinator, Mombasa County. Millicent, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I thank God for this new day.
Yes, we do thank God. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
I love your dress.
I'm also happy to be here. Thank you so much. Yes. You're going to make me catwalk around this town. Eh?
Please.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah. So we are looking at what's been happening politically in our nation. So pretty much stories that made headlines across the weekend. And one of them is so Justin Muturi came out to speak. And Muturi is the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service. And he's been talking about abductions for the longest time. And the reason why I think he's talking about it because of his son. The fact that his son was also abducted. He came out to call out the government on it. So he just made he made a statement over the weekend. I want us to listen in and then talk about it.
And I'm calling on government. The head of government is the president. This matter must be discussed. We cannot just say that you are in government or the other. No. Everybody who is involved must come out. And government exists, among other things, to protect their lives and property of the citizens. These are citizens whose lives have been taken at a very young age. I mean, the issue of resignation or not, it's such a side issue. It suffices that I've made my point, that whoever wants to listen, and you have noticed, I have refused to respond to those side things about some people, who have been told, sent there to go and say this and this. I'm not going there. This is a very serious matter, and actually it should take the anger of this country, because why are we allowing young boys and girls to be kidnapped, only later to be found killed? Surely, what kind of country are we? And we are pretending to be solving issues in DRC? This is a very serious issue. I mean, the number of people that have died are so many that it should prick the conscience of any right-thinking leader.
Millicent, that is Justin Muturi, and he sounds frustrated. He sounds frustrated. Yes. He's agitated, and somebody might say he's asking himself, like, why isn't this matter being taken seriously? And I would say it speaks on behalf of some Kenyans, a lot of Kenyans. What do you make of this?
He speaks on behalf of all of us.
Yeah.
And if leaders would stop being sycophants and be true leaders, this country will be different.
Yeah.
Our Constitution, and I just opened it because I wanted to read it. Constitution, chapter 26, talks about a right to life. Every person has a right to life. The life of a person begins at conception. We are saying you're not allowed to commit abortion. Yeah. Willingly decide, I do not want the baby. But we forget and destroy these lives after parents have struggled years of their investments, time, children with hope for tomorrow. And it's our young people who are educated, who have a future for this country. Yeah. Then you can just switch off their lives, the flick of a finger, just because you're unhappy, just because you're annoyed. No, I agree with Muturi. I feel him. And I'm glad it happened to somebody at his level. And I'm glad it happened to him, who is bold enough to speak out. Because there are some who wouldn't have, for fear of being intimidated.
Yeah.
So Heko Muturi, I'm behind him. I wish he could call us to a demonstration. We would join him on those streets, because he knows the pain of not being in contact with your child and not knowing whether he's dead or alive, not knowing how much he's being persecuted. The pain the child is going through behind
Yes.
your unknown world. It's terrible for a parent. My grandchildren, they're the ones who are young now, gets lost from my sight minutes, and I'm frantic. I'm looking for them all over. I am walking all over the estate. Where? Calling, shouting. You can imagine when you know that they are abducted at the hands of people who actually are purposed to harm them and even take life from them. It's not an easy fate. This country must be called out. And I like Muturi. I have spoken about this, and I will speak about it again. We do not give birth to children for the government to play around with them. Like they do not have parents. They have parents who care. Parents who feel pain. I wish one day one of the president's children would be abducted. I wish. I long for that day and see how he will sit easy and smile. Our children must be protected. It is a right in the Constitution. The right to life is embedded in the Constitution. We are not begging. It's a must. Why are we paying the police force? Why are we paying the administration? The budget of this country is heavy on our forces. Why? To protect life. So why are we paying so much to protect life and just by the whim of a feeling destroy the same life that we are paying so much of our taxes to protect? Why? Administration, GSU, army. Look at that budget. Have you ever looked at the budget of the defense? And that goes to the police force and the trainings. Hey, are you aware that even the budget of the defense oftentimes is not audited? And then here we are spending so much money for our security, only for us to be, our necks to be cracked.
And so why are we seeing the DCI come out and say they do not know who's abducting Kenyans? We also saw IPOA come out and say they cannot investigate
Because they are all in the bandwagon. They have been compromised.
So who is going to protect Kenyans?
We must protect ourselves.
How?
You know, what amuses me about Kenyans is when another Kenyan is abducted, and you look at what some people say in the social media, oh, why did they go out there?
Yes.
Who sent them out there? You know, that's the highest level of stupidity that I've ever come across as a mother. For us to get independence in this country, there are people who are bold enough to come out and say no to the colonials.
Yeah.
And because they did, and they actually gave up their lives, today we have freedom. So when a young person feels that this country needs change and steps out there, other than throw arrows at him and start abusing them, start making them look like they're lost, the best we can do is join them. I was wondering why mothers like us did not all go out on the streets. I did go out on the streets, but I really looked odd. In fact, one day I was on the streets and another young man told me, Mama, rudi nyumbani. Sasa ni sisi. So I went back. I said, okay, fine. They seem to feel uncomfortable with me. Why? They want to move on. But then I'm being an extra luggage. They seem to need to take care of me. So every time we walk, Mama uko sawa? Mama uko sawa? So I felt like I was also distracting their cause. So then I also realized, no, my times are up. Let me just pray over them and do the social media campaign that I can do as a mother, and give them water or anything that they need.
I don't think your time is up. There's something you say that the young person is out there. Okay, so we're seeing instances where the young person is calling out and is protesting because they don't agree with what's happening in the government. And we've also seen how the young person has been intimidated
Completely.
as well. Yes. Now, why? Because this is somebody who's coming up and hoping that this person will be in a leadership position.
Yeah.
Why is this young person being intimidated
Fear.
instead of being uplifted?
We have a bunch of people who are full of fear. By the way, this government is full of cowards. People who are so fearful of their own selves, I believe even their own shadows, because they are packed with so many wrongdoings. They are packed with you saw the other day, EACC tagged the president's land and the former president's land. So you can see the shadows, the sacks that they're carrying on their back. And that is what is creating extreme fear. When they think that they'll be out of power and through the protests of the people, they know that it will not be safe with them. When it is safe transition, then the person who takes over protects you. That's what happens. But when we come out and claim it, it means that you will be accountable to everything that you own. We will take you to task. It's now not a friendly takeover. So they fear that. And it is fear that is making them go out so viciously to stop any voice that would encourage others to continue in this course.
What kind of backing do you think the youths need? Because again, I always say
the youth needs us as adults.
Okay.
I keep saying, Kenyans, the day we all agree that enough is enough, and all of us drive our cars onto those roads, and you stop it wherever it is, so that from town to Bamburi, it is matatus, it is personal cars, it is trucks past. I wonder where those policemen will pass to hit who, because you've just parked your cars and there is no movement in the whole country. People are not going to work. Everything is at a standstill. And if possible, all women come out, and like Cameroonians did it one time, throw your shame away. I mean, they have already removed our clothes. We are naked. Now practically remove those clothes. Grandmothers, mothers, children, everybody, and be on the streets and tell this government it is enough. I think it hasn't gotten to the level where we feel it is enough. The anger some of us are feeling is not in anybody's, in some people's lives. But when it gets there, my friend, you will even remove your wig. You'll remove your clothes. Those women who are wearing sacks, I gave them heko. But I said I wish they could throw away those sacks. Look at Wangari Maathai when she was trying to save Uhuru Park. She had to strip naked so that Uhuru Park gets saved. So until we get to the level that we really are angry and unhappy with what is happening, and we stop buying hope that is being sold to us by words that are not honest at all, with a load of lies, we stop buying it and say, no, this government is not taking us anywhere. People keep thinking there is hope. There is no hope. There is no hope. The GS Standard 6 children who have crossed over into classes where they don't have laboratories, they don't have enough teachers, that is wasted time that will never be recovered. This boys and girls' life is lost. It is an era of time that this child will never gain. They will be pumped into a world where they are not competent because they lost education at the right time. Things that are happening are irreversible. But we are behaving like miaka tano si mbali. But what is happening to us is ultimate. It is destroying lives. When a child is supposed to go to the university and they are not able to go and they do not make it, how are you ever going to reverse that? How? They will end up on the streets or doing other things. It will never be the same again, even for the parents. So when we look at these things as immediate, other than looking at it from 5 years simbali, we will take action. But we keep, and then Kenyans have this business of Mungu anajua. What do you mean Mungu anajua? Mungu ashanipa mkono, mdomo, macho, akili, na pesa, na uwezo. He expects me to use what he's given me for my own benefit. Why do I keep waiting for him to come down? It reminds me of this man who was drowning. And as he was drowning, he prayed to God, oh, please, God, save me. Somebody came in a boat. He felt the boat was too small. No, God will help me. The boat went. Somebody dropped a rope. He looked at it and thought, this rope, it may break. No, God is going to help me. He finally drowned. When he got to heaven, he asked God, so why did you leave me to drown? And I actually prayed. And you said, when I ask you, you'll answer. But he said, I brought a boat. I brought a rope. You didn't see. You didn't connect with it. That's the same way we are behaving. We have abilities. We have intelligence. We have young people who today are on toes. We have everything we need to revolutionalize this country. But we are still saying, Mungu anajua, Mungu atatuona, Mungu gani? God does not work like that, bwana. God has given us the ability to make the changes we need to change.
Millicent, umesema neno hapo wakati ukimzungumzia JB Muturi kwamba nilikuwa nafikiri atatuita kwa maandamano. Kwa nini mpaka msubiri muitwe? Vitu vinaharibika venye umesema, tumepewa kila kitu, Mungu ametupatia uwezo, hivyo.
I will still tell you this again and again. I Millicent, anytime I will go. I've undermanned on my phone, seriously. In fact, every time I go to a studio, I look out if there's a Land Rover. I have. But you want to agree with me that a person like Muturi, who has actually gone through the experience, and all those parents who have had their children abducted, if they took the forefront and we are with them, it makes more sense. And it's more stimulating than me, whose child has not been abducted. That's why the women who went to Kimathi Street, it was just a one-day thing. But you know, when it is something that has happened to you, that motivation, that passion will keep you going through the day without even being paid. Let me tell you honestly, my child was abducted. I would be walking on these streets alone every day. I think policemen would be picking me in their Land Rovers and removing me the next spot because I don't know what they would do with me. But I'd be walking with placards. My child was abducted. Every day I would be walking this street.
Sasa bado tukiwa kwa swala hilo tumeona kwamba kuna wale viongozi wengine ambao wamekuwa wakidai kwamba JB Muturi anafaa kuresign. Hilo nalo taliongelea vipi? Kwamba hafai kupiga serikali akiwa ndani ya serikali.
How now? Hata mimi ni mzazi. Na watoto wangu kwenye nyumba, nikifanya makosa, wana haki kuniambia nimefanya makosa. Ukiona JB anaongea wazi hivyo, yuaonyesha jambo moja. This is a dictatorial regime where you see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And you are answerable to one voice. It is a regime that is oppressive. And you look at the people in government, honestly, they look oppressed. Even when you see them seated anywhere in their suits, look at their faces, look at their eyes. Oh my God, they're so disillusioned. They themselves, I think, wish things would change. But they don't know how because the money is good. It needs people like Millicent who don't care about money. Yeah, it's just a sign that in that government, they are in a concentration camp. You tried, you're dealt with perpendicularly. And anyway, they are enjoying the fruits of corruption. So now they're flashing out their watches of 18 million, 19 million shoes of what million, and they are boarding when they are sick, they go outside, they don't bother with shashisho. So even when shashisho is not working, it doesn't bother them.
Yeah.
You know, because they are selfish human beings and they're not there for the purposes of the people. They are looking at the benefit. And that reminds me, I'm telling you this because I know when I was one time an ODM secretary and I was nominated, I was placed as number 1 on the nomination list of this county. And I sat back and looked at the regime that was coming in and I said, I don't think I can work with this regime. This is an oppressive regime. And because I'm a practicing Christian, I said, your nomination staki. I don't want to be in a situation where I am a leader in their government and you come to me, ask for help, and I tell you, ngoja kidogo, boss hajasema, ngoja niulize boss, and I'm also a leader in my own right. So I said, hold on, delete that name, delete it. A few leaders called me and asked me, hey, boss amesema wekwe namba 1, aibu gani hiyo? Nikasema, hey, I can't work with you. People told me for the money. I said, money, I'm a professional. I don't go hungry. Hello? I don't go hungry. Take it away. And I didn't get that nomination slot. Not because I didn't deserve it. I deserve it because I was the ODM secretary then. And I was number 1 on the list. But I said no. Why did I say no? principles. I'm a leader for the people. I am there for the people, not for my own benefits. If it is for my own benefits, I went to school. I will work, eat, live happy. But as long as I step into the leadership circle, it's not about me anymore. It's about the people. We don't have such people in government. I'm glad Muturi has caught the flu and he's speaking out. Why? His son was abducted. I wish they could abduct more of those children.
We are speaking to Millicent Odhiambo. She's the Wiper Party Coordinator, Mombasa County. And yeah. There's a lot to take in. 0700917917. And also, I would like to know my responsibility as a Kenyan. You will you'll respond to that later on. But if you got any question, do ask. The time is now. I'm going to call you fearless.
I've been thrown behind bars.
You have?
Yes. In 2007, I was picked at Kingaleni. When I was shouting Hakietu, I was still slim and active and very, very aggressive.
Yeah.
And I was picked and thrown into cell. And I kissed with Kingori Mwangi for 3 months. But the magistrate entered a nolle prosequi. They bet me up. My right thigh has a gap between my muscles. The buttons kept hitting me. Men were all over me. And I'm still alive today. So yes, I've been in the trenches.
So you understand?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
You do understand the fear when the young person is abducted.
I know the pain.
Yeah.
I was picked and I was told Hussein, that time it was Hussein, has demanded that I be flown to Nairobi immediately. What rescued me was the people. Somebody asked, what is the responsibility of the Kenyan?
Yeah.
The people came out in large numbers at Nyali Police. Large numbers. They moved me to PPO. By the time I was getting to PPO, they had called. She's been taken to PPO. They filled PPO. Then they moved me to Port Police and locked me there. And then the next day I was taken to court. But the magistrate released me on bail. I remember Sheikh Dor came and paid my bail. That is where Christianity and Muslim met face to face. And that's why religion should never separate us. We should learn to coexist. Sheikh Dor paid my bail. And I was on those courts for 3 months. My children were in pain. When I was taken, they were crying throughout. Will our mother ever come back? And I had just lost my husband. So you can see the pain. And you can see why I feel hurt.
Yeah.
It's personal.
It is personal. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Thank you. No, we need a country where people are allowed to be who they are. And yes, I don't see anything wrong in somebody demanding for what is rightly theirs.
Yeah.
No. The best you can do if you think that they have overstepped the boundary is call them and warn them. I mean, there has to be a system.
There should be a
There has to
system.
be a system
Yeah.
that can be used, but not abducting. How come in the developed countries they abduct nobody, yet they are demonstrating every other day?
Yeah.
How come? Why are we the ones who are? What do I say? I wanted to say a word that may make a Land Rover wait for me. But watch out.
I want to take us
next
to.
topic.
I want to take us to Gachagua,
Yes.
the former deputy president. He's launched Rescue the Payslip campaign against Ruto's tax policy. That is what that article says, and the article is on Kenyan Insight. Let's listen into an audio of what he said before we go back to the Rescue the Payslip.
It is not the work of government to put up houses for people. Kazi ya serikali ni barabara, maji, stima, usalama, madawa hospitalini na masomo. Hii mambo ya kujenga nyumba, kila mtu atajenga nyumba yake kwa nafasi yake. Kayo mutiku yake ranyo.
Well, so he said that, and the rescue, the payslip, is aimed at addressing the financial strain caused by recent Kenya Kwanza's tax legislation. Now, every Kenyan can attest to certain things. That when you look at your payslip, there are a lot of deductions, and it keeps
NSSF has just been increased.
yes, it
this
keeps growing thin. You know, let's start from that audio clip where he
Yes.
says it is not the role of the government kujenga nyumba. We have the housing levy.
I don't agree with him. It is the role of government to ensure that their citizens are living in conducive and safe environments. But how is what is important here. Any serious government. Remember when I was growing up, the reason we have Buxton, the reason we have Changamwe, which is being brought down now, is because the government then knew that there are people who cannot afford to buy their own houses, but they need to live in decent houses. And if you realize, most of these houses were built next to the road so that they would not even have challenges with transportation system. So what they did is they built houses which were low cost, and their rents were barely minimal, so that they are able to live decently. Remember also, when I don't know how far you can remember, but when I was growing up, the government even had a transportation system. We had Kenya Bus Service, where the students would pay half fare, and they would be given a student card. If they were to use the train, they would pay half fare, because the government is taking care of his people. It is the responsibility of the government to ensure that I live in a decent place, even when I am not able to afford. And that is why we had the National Housing Corporation, that organization was tasked to ensure that Kenyans who cannot buy their own houses, because there are some who will never buy, they will never be able to buy, will have decent houses with water, with electricity, and in a safe environment and accessible. It is the responsibility of government. Gachagua ache kutuchanganya. It is the process that is wrong. It is not the responsibility of civil servants to build homes for the government. That is where we go wrong. It is not the responsibility of the civil servants, so that the civil servants' pay slip is attacked and money is used to build homes that they will never occupy.
So that is where
they will never benefit. Yes, that's where the disconnect is.
Okay.
It's not their responsibility. All along, government has been building homes for Kenyans. That's why we have the Changamwe, which needed to be renovated. We had Chuda. Why do you think we have those estates? We have Likoni in every area. In Mombasa, in Kisauni, we have Hadija. Why do you think those houses were there? They were built by government. And people were paying bare minimal so that they're able to survive their hard times and they live decently. It is the responsibility of government.
So these houses were built without the civil servant contributing towards it? Okay.
Nothing. There was no housing levy. These housing levies are colonial rules coming back in another name.
Okay.
It's the colonialists who used to get money, a levy in everything. Kuku, the way now we are being charged. If you have a kuku, you pay 200. So if you have a goat, you pay what. All those are colonial systems which are being brought in new names.
Yeah.
Yes, but government, for the length of time that I've lived, I have lived in an environment, in a system that takes care of his people. I remember even as I was growing up, the government would spray the environment to ensure that his people are not bitten by mosquitoes. So what responsibility does this government have over its citizen? Tell me, what responsibility? Hakuna.
That's the question. Because when You've spoken about the mosquito. I remember the mosquito.
Yes.
Yes.
They would go out
Yeah.
there and spray
Yeah.
everywhere. Any stagnant water, they would spray.
Yeah.
And they'll make sure they trim the bushes. Who trims bushes anymore nowadays? You only see power cutting trees because it is falling on their power line, not because it is for the benefit of the mwananchi. So
Yeah.
what responsibility does this government have over its people? Tell me where. Kama ni fees tunalipa, hospitali tunalipa, transport tunalipa. Tell me what responsibility does this government have? Answer me, somebody.
I'm looking at my payslip, by the way. I'm just every single time I
It's
speak
being
to
raided.
somebody. Yeah.
It's being raided, kabisa.
Every time I speak to, and you're not the only person. I think last week I had a conversation with someone who shared about how education used to be back then. You know, the kind of lifestyle they used to have back then. And they paint this beautiful picture. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that must have been good.
Ask me again.
Like
We used to
that-
be paid every month. We would have, boom, every month. The government would pay us. We would eat, and we were eating chapatis.
Soft life.
It wasn't soft life. We were delivering mentally. The people at our level, you look at them, you see brilliance. We were given time to study. Today, a child goes to college. They are struggling to find food to eat. They are struggling to find a place to stay. They stay in places that some are so insecure. They have to think of, where is my next meal coming from? And they are supposed to be reading. Tell me, what quality of a person will you give out there? Tell me. And that is why schools that still take care of the interests of their students, like Strathmore, but the parents paid through the nose, you see the quality of graduates that they give out are different. This child is struggling in the rain. Sometimes the parent has not sent money for accommodation, and they are in class, sitting for an exam. They are wondering, will I find the landlord has locked my door?
Yeah.
We've thrown them into the deep end of life too soon, before they are mature enough to handle those issues. It's not fair. Let students be students. This government must take back education and put it in the right place. You can't make student hustlers. So they have to keep hawking, doing crazy things so that they're able to survive on a
Wengine
day-to-day
wanakaa
basis.
njaa, wanakula mili moja.
A day. Some don't even eat because the parents have not.
Yeah.
And here I am, a girl. My parents have not sent me any money for a month. They don't even know where to get it because their lives are not, they're struggling. Then a man comes along and tells you 10,000. Hata mimi nitachukua bana. Then you'll start calling me a prostitute. Or sijui what. Hey, I'm not a prostitute. I'm surviving.
Millicent, now that umesema kwamba kauli ya Gachagua umeipinga.
Hiyo kauli ya Gachagua.
Ya kauli ya Gachagua.
Nimeipinga. Hiyo
Yes.
ya kwamba government does not, but raiding the payslip, I'm together with him. Hiyo tu ya kusema ati housing is responsibility hapo hapana.
Okay.
Housing ni responsibility ya serikali.
So, history ya payslip, kuna housing levy, kuna NSSF umeitaja,
NHIF. NHIF sasa kuna SHA.
Yes, that.
By the way, that SHA is expensive. Dare say that you live in a house with water and electricity, utalipa 30K over. SHA?
So
SHA ni SHA, shisho.
So hizo vitu zote zenye zimeongezwa ni mzigo kwa mwananchi. Unafikiri hii serikali haijamfikiria mwananchi vile ambavyo kwamba anatakiwa afikiriwe, kwa sababu huko atakatwa pesa kodi ya nyumba, akatwe hiyo SHA venye imesemekana, lakini kuna NSSF yenye inakuja kuongezwa from the 200 to hiyo yenye itakuwa inaongezwa, I think huu mwezi ndio itakuwa inakatwa. Hii serikali imeingia kwa ajili ya kumfinya mwananchi au kuhakikisha kwamba inamfanyia kazi, because wanasema wanachukua alafu wanakurudishia.
But it is obvious. Wewe leo ukitaka code of conduct, it takes 6 months so that it is easy for it to expire, and if you need it again, you can pay money again. If you want an ID card, you have to pay.
Yes.
So this government is only out for one thing: get the money, milk them dry, make them poor, so that they can be desperate. Then we can control them. Simple.
Sasa are we seeing the same script? Kwa sababu nafikiria siasa zetu zimekuwa zile za kwamba unajaribu kuangalia ni kipi ambacho kimefichika kwa wananchi alafu kilete huu upande. Ukiangalia Gachagua vile amekuwa akifanya, na sasa ameanza kuingiliana pia na wale viongozi wengine ambao wamekuwa katika opposition, including kina Matakaru.
Mi nashukuru sana Gachagua alirushwa nje, ingawaje I don't like the way he was thrown out because it was extremely unconstitutional. Kwanza alikuwa anaambiwa yeye ni corrupt, and yet the other day, I think, if my mind does not if I am still thinking well, the newspapers told me that my president was the second most corrupt person in the world. And then Gachagua was also thrown out because of corruption. So the reasons for his being impeached or being removed did not make sense to me at all as a common mwananchi. In fact, I thought they should have come back to us so that the way we voted them in, we make the decision whether you keep him or not.
Yeah.
Because it's us who accepted the two of them, though I did not. But us who accepted the two of them. I think certain things really need to change. So for me, Gachagua, it is good then that he was kicked out, because now he can let the cat out of the bag. Now he's telling us the truth